What's up, everyone? It's your boy Financial Charles back at it again with another video. And with Bitcoin hitting $92,000, I have officially made $41,000 in the past week, which is just so crazy to say. And I remember when I was like, 18, 19, 20 years old, you would always see these videos on YouTube talking about, I made $40,000 in 1 week at age 24 type stuff. And it just seems so unrealistic and so out there. But fast forward to now, it's like I actually am that guy that made $41,000 in a week. And now I'm making a video about it. I used to watch those videos and just think it's like it's fake or it's over exaggerated or something like that, but I'm actually living that reality. And it's all because of just lump summing everything into Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. Like, I wanted to talk about couple things today. I wanted to talk about a victim mentality. I wanted to talk about getting to your first $100,000, and I also want to talk about rental properties just in this video. I know those are three really random topics, but I think those are some good points to bring up today from someone that has made $41,000 the past week. But yeah, this past week has been the most impactful in terms of monetary gain for me. I always knew that this was eventually going to happen. I just didn't think it happened this fast, this soon, But basically, in terms of the victim mentality, I think a lot of people walk around this world just blaming the world of their problems. And, I think a lot of people, when it comes to making this much money, they always are just like, oh yeah, you have to be born with it, or you got to inherit it type stuff. But I am living proof that that's not true. I remember when I was 16 and I first started working, I was the type of dude to spend every dollar of every paycheck and then wait for the next paycheck so I can spend it all again. When I was 18 years old, I had like $0. And then by the time I was 21 years old, because I was investing first into S&P 500 and then into Bitcoin, by the time I was 21, I had $60,000. And then because of Celsius, by the time I was 22, I had negative $5,000. And a lot of people would have just given up. A lot of people would have just said the system is a scam if they went through that type of thing. But from 22 to age 24, I went from negative $5,000 to $160,000. And I just made, $40,000 in the past week. Or $41,000 in the past week, which is such a crazy amount to say, So I think with a victim mentality, you just pretending that, the world just is not being, the world is not going your way type stuff, or you got to be born with it or something like that. The reason that you're saying that is so that way it's an easier pill for you to swallow, because when you place the blame on someone else other than yourself, it makes it easier. It's it allows you to pity yourself. And I think a lot of people are addicted to self-pity. They like saying, oh, I was not born with it, so, I'm just going to continue to be mediocre and stuff. I think you blaming your situation on external factors like that is just giving yourself a pass to just continue to be mediocre. It gives you the perfect excuse to be mediocre and continue to not work hard, you know what I'm saying? Or not work smart, I should say, And I think, getting to $40,000 in a week, it isn't working hard, really. It's just being smart. Just being smart about it, you know what I'm saying? My job, I don't work hard at all. I just show up to work and I sit up behind a computer and I just listen to my YouTube videos and I scroll Reddit, scroll the internet. It's that's not really hard work. I see other people in my workplace, they're running around, doing all this and that. They're sweating. They're constantly interacting, and they just gotta keep on grinding. And it's just that's not the way to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's all about just working smart, and just doing your own research and finding your own way. A lot of people, they're born within this box, and they have no idea that there's a whole world outside of this box. A lot of people, they live their whole life inside of the box, and they don't even know that they're in the box. They don't even know that there's a whole world outside. That, you know what I'm saying? You just have to break free of what you've been taught about the world. You have to not follow what other people tell you to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I followed what everyone else told me to do, I wouldn't be in the position I am right now. I did what I did, which is lump sum everything into Bitcoin for years and years, because I knew what it was. I knew what it is, and I knew what it will continue to be. You know what I'm saying? Like there was not a single doubt in my mind that this would happen. I just didn't know that it would happen this fast. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's already at the brink of $100,000. I remember lump summing everything in the teens and the 20s. You know, there's video proof of this on the YouTube channel. We took out $10,000 loans and $20,000 loans to buy Bitcoin at $25,000, $30,000, $59,000. And everyone, they will call you crazy. They will call you crazy. But in true reality, it's like, to take out US dollar debt is shorting the US dollar, which is a smart move because the US dollar automatically loses 7 to 10% of purchasing power every single year. So it's mathematically wise. Like, to short the US dollar and long Bitcoin is mathematically wise. Like, there's no arguing that. But people will always just be scared. People will always just make excuses to continue to be mediocre, so they will continue to give themselves a pass to be mediocre. You know what I'm saying? So, and then here's another thing I learned is, like, you can't help people that don't want to be helped. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can tell people why Bitcoin is important, and they're just not going to listen. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be in one ear, out the other. And, like, you just can't waste your time on those people. You know, just keep on going. Just put your head down and keep on stacking sats. That's what it really all comes down to, man. But yeah, I wanted to talk about, so that's, the victim mentality type thing that I wanted to talk about. Like, you continuously making excuses for yourself and continuously blaming the external world around you for your problems is like, you're giving yourself a pass to continue being mediocre, when in true reality, I think everyone in this world is in the position they're in because they want to be in that position. Like, if you were in a mediocre position, living in a dusty house with some raggedy clothes, eating some raggedy food, it's because that you would rather be in that position than put in the effort to get yourself in a better position. Like, that's what it is. Like, for you, the effort is not worth it. Like, the juice is not worth the squeeze to you, and that's why you're not putting in all that effort to, better your situation. And that's not a wrong thing to do. It's like, everyone has their different definitions of success and stuff. So it's like, I can't say that you're right or you're wrong. There's no such thing as right and wrong in this universe. There's no manual for this universe to tell you what success is. Like, success is whatever you want it to be. So if you want to live in a dusty ass, raggedy ass house with some raggedy ass clothes, I mean, that's your definition of success. But I'm just saying, for me personally, like, I refuse to live that type of lifestyle. I refuse to be limited by my financial situation. I refuse to, you know what I'm saying? Like, there are no limits for me. There are zero limits. I do not put any limitations on myself. You know what I'm saying? Like, to want to do something in this world, but you can't because you don't have the financial means to do so, that is a position that I refuse to allow myself to be in. So yeah, that's the victim mentality. And I wanted to talk about getting to your first $100,000 and why that's so important. So I didn't get to my first $100,000 until March of 2024. It was a couple months after my 24th birthday. And that was March of 2024. Right now, it's November of 2024, like 8 months later. And here I am at 160, which is it's crazy that, like, in a span of 8 months, netting 60,000. And then, the past week, netting 41,000. It's, when Charlie Munger said getting to your first $100,000 is, like, the most important thing, it's like, it is so true. They say your first $100,000 is harder to get to than your first $1 million. And it's totally, totally true. Like, and growing from 100 to 160 like that so fast, it's like, it's so true. That's all it is. Like, if you think about getting a 10% return on your money every year, which is what the S&P 500 has done ever since inception, having $100,000 invested, you just made $10,000 passively. You know what I'm saying? So if Bitcoin is appreciating 50% a year, you know what I'm saying? That's $50,000 passively. And what's so crazy about $41,000 is, like, in 1 week is, like, if you made $20 an hour, you're making $40,000 a year. What I just made in 1 week, I made more in 1 week than what many people make in 1 year. And even if you make $50,000 a year, $25 an hour, after tax is probably down to $40,000. And then, if you spend $0 on living expenses, which is physically impossible, then you would, net 40,000 at the end of the year. And I netted that in 1 week. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. Like I said, back to the box thing. A lot of people they're stuck in a box and they don't even know that they're in a box. They don't know that there's a whole world out there. Like, it's crazy. 41,000 net in a week is something that I still have to just wrap my head around. It's crazy. Like, there used to be, like, I think I already said this about the YouTube videos, like people making, I made $40,000 in a week at age 24. And like, I am actually the guy that did it now. Like, I am the guy that actually did it. And I'm actually making this YouTube video about how I actually made $41,000 in a week. Crazy. And but yeah, so it's really important to get to your first $100,000. So if you have to sell everything you have and live a minimalist lifestyle and eat peanut butter sandwiches, like, just do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, go ahead, look back at some of the videos. Like, I had the era where I was living in my car in 2021 for the sake of throwing everything into Bitcoin. Like, I was living in my car with $50,000 invested. Crazy. And it's because, like, I'm willing to, put myself through that, like the fruits of my labor, and that is on some borderline mental illness type stuff, to live in your car while you have $50,000 invested for the sake of investing even more. But like, look where I'm at, you know what I'm saying? $41,000 made in 1 week. I'm 24 with no degree. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's, no one else is doing that. No one else is doing that. Sure, there are the 21-year-olds with $3 million from drop shipping and all that, but there are not many people like that in the world. There are not many people that are in the position that I'm in, which is just so surreal. Like, everything has just fallen into plan. Last point I wanted to make was about rental properties, how, like, and not even just rental properties, but all other businesses in general, about how they're so inefficient. We grew up in a world where everyone's telling you, like, oh yeah, buy the rental properties, cash flow this, cash flow that, buy real estate because it appreciates. Like, there's a lot of things that they're not telling you about that. Like, I know so many kids that they're early 20s, they think they're so smart, talking about, well, if you just buy a rental property, you could cash flow this, that. Like, such a surface level way of thinking, in my opinion. Like, and these people, they don't even have rental properties. You know what I'm saying? They're just talking about how they want to own one in the future. And like, it's just the most inefficient, well, not the most inefficient thing. I would say like a boba shop or coffee shop, that's maximum inefficiency. Like, the restaurant business is like such low margin, but back to the rental properties, it's like, when you own a property, it appreciates 3 to 5% a year. Like, congratulations. Like, is that the type of appreciation you're looking for? 3 to 5%, when the S&P 500 appreciates 10% a year, and Bitcoin beats out S&P by a factor of multiples. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bitcoin appreciates on average 40 to 50% a year, so it just stomps on the S&P, and the S&P stomps on the appreciation of these properties. And so the only possible way that you can even somewhat justify it is, to rent out for cash flow. But here's a couple things about the cash flow. It's like, first of all, you're not even guaranteed that the tenant is going to be paying their rent. And in the United States, what do you do when your tenant doesn't, pay their monthly rent? You can't evict them. It's like, literally, you cannot evict them. What if there's a pandemic, you know what I'm saying? And like, the government says that you're not allowed to collect your rent. Now you're like so screwed. You're just like top of the line screwed, So you have to hope that your tenant pays their rent, because if they don't pay their rent, you cannot evict them. And also, here's another thing. You have to spend money on repairs, the roof, the heater, the you know what I'm saying? Like, all that stuff is like, that's maintenance that you have to. Like, you don't have to repair your sink, your Bitcoin sink. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to repair your Bitcoin heating. You don't have to repair your Bitcoin roof. There is no maintenance. And here's another thing. You have to pay property. So like, here they say like, oh yeah, the real estate will appreciate this, that. So Sure that the value of the property goes up, but the property tax also increases with the value of your property. You know what they call that? You know what property tax is? Property tax is a fancy way of saying unrealized capital gains tax. You know? Like, that's crazy. Like, you're paying unrealized capital gains tax on your property. Like, no thanks. No thanks. With Bitcoin, sure, like, you have to pay tax when you sell, but here's the thing, you just don't sell. If you need fiat, you borrow against your Bitcoin. You borrow against your Bitcoin. Collateralized loan is tax free. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't pay taxes on a loan. So I don't know, man. It's so much more efficient, so much more efficient. And then you're going to talk about cash flow, or like the cash flow is taxed too. The cash flow is also taxed. Like, real estate is such an old school way of growing your wealth. You know what I'm saying? Like, the only benefit to real estate is the fact that you can, put 20% down to control 100% of a property, or, to be exposed to 100%. It's like you put down $200,000, you can be exposed to $1 million worth of asset. But there's leverage in stocks too. There's leverage in Bitcoin too. You know what I'm saying? Like I said earlier, we took out the $10,000, $20,000 loans, and they all called us crazy. But what's really crazy is being left behind in the dust. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, if you have a 5% loan, US dollar loan, keep that because the US dollar loses 7 to 14% of its purchasing power every single year. So holding on to a 5% loan is smart. It's like, sure, the dollar amount that you owe goes up every year, but the purchasing power of those dollars, plummets and like it even plummets and outpaces that interest rate, and then you put the borrowed money into Bitcoin, it's game over. You're running away with it, and now no one can catch up. And speaking of not catching up, imagine that. Like, I made $41,000 in 1 week. In March, I hit 100,000 for the first time, and now I'm at 160. It's like, like, how do you, and the year's not even over yet, but let's just pretend that the year's over. How do you net an extra $60,000 per year? You probably have to make six figures, so $100,000 per year, which you get taxed on, that goes down to $80,000. And then you have to live off of $20,000 of living expenses. You can't do that. You up that to like $35,000 to $40,000 of living expenses per year. So now you're only netting $40,000. You start off making $100,000 a year. After tax, it's $80,000, and then after living expenses, you have $40,000 left to invest. Crazy. But here's the thing too, it's like, I'm still investing too. Like, I'm still going to my work and I'm still investing my stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't catch up. You literally cannot catch up. $160,000 invested right now for me. It's like, how long is it going to take you to get to $160,000 invested? How many years do you have to work? You know what I'm saying? Like, what I made in 1 week, what I made in 1 week, a lot of people will not make in a year, And that's the power of just brute forcing the investments, putting every dollar into Bitcoin, even taking out loans to buy Bitcoin. How are you going to catch up? If Bitcoin plummets 75,000 or 75%, I'll just buy more. I'll buy more and more and more. 1/4 of 160,000 is about $40,000. So worst case, and then I got a couple thousand in stock. So I, like, worst case scenario, if everything crashes, like, still at, over 50,000 invested. Like we did it, man. We did it. Like, I'm telling you the strategy right now. Like, like I said, everyone, like, a lot of people, they live their whole life in a box and they don't even know that there's a whole world outside of the box. And I'm telling you how to get outside of the box right now. Buy Bitcoin, put everything in Bitcoin. Simple as that. Simple as that. You don't have to jump through any hoops. You don't have to do any of this rental property stuff. You don't have to run a boba shop. You don't have to put in all this work, put in all this effort, put in all the, like, the rental properties, you have to expend your time, you have to expend your money, and you have to expend your energy. You're expending your resources. Like, Bitcoin is like, you just press buy and that's it. You're not expending much time at all. Maybe you're spending time learning about it, but it's like, that is the one thing that is the most worth it to learn about. You can learn about all this and that, this and that. You can learn about how this business works, how that business works. At the end of the day, if it's not outpacing Bitcoin, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? Like Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy is going to be one of the most valuable companies in the world. You know, they're going to be one of the top companies in the S&P 500. Michael Saylor is going to be one of the richest men in the world. You know, what do? Their business strategy is to borrow US dollars to buy more Bitcoin. Nvidia is the only thing that has outpaced Bitcoin. But what does Nvidia do? They make GPUs so people can use them to mine Bitcoin. Nvidia sells the Bitcoin shovels. You know what I'm saying? Like the top of the world, the where the money is at in Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Like governments are buying Bitcoin. United States Bitcoin strategic reserve, 1 million Bitcoins that they're going to buy. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it going to take? What is it going to take for people to get off their high horse and admit when they're wrong and join the winning team? You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's all I had to say, man. Like, it's crazy to think that I got to the point where what I made in 1 week, most people will not make in 1 year. Or most people will not net in 1 year, I should say. So, and the year's not even over yet. Bitcoin, $92,000. It's crazy. It's just crazy. Am I selling? What am I selling to? Like, fiat is forever plummeting. Like, what asset is there that's better than Bitcoin? Like, what am I going to sell to? You want me to sell my Bitcoin to buy a rental property? We just went through why rental properties are so inefficient in comparison to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the end game. There is no other end game. Rental properties are not the end game. Boba shops and coffee shops are not the end game. You know what I'm saying? All these business, that's not the end game. The end game is to accumulate as much Bitcoin as possible. Not US dollars, Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's crazy, man. Bitcoiners, they're going to be very powerful people in the future. So, yeah, that's all I had to say. Yeah, please like and subscribe, I guess. I'll see you next video.